Hi, everyone. It's Alicia, and welcome back to the Eat Me podcast. Yeah, I'm really excited to talk to y'all today about this particular topic because it's been something that I have been um, so happy that I made the change to in my life. It has changed my life drastically in many ways. Um, I'm talking about being vegan. Ta-da! And I figured today, let's just break away from all the craziness that's going on in this world, and let's talk about something that's actually benefiting folks in their life and how they, are making changes to have a more healthy approach to living and being in just their dietary practices as well as their lifestyle practices. And so I really wanted to focus on the topic around Black folks and going vegan. And the reason why I decided to really focus on that, one, because I am a Black person. Hello. And then also, two, I think now more than ever, we're seeing so many more Black folks coming out saying they're vegan, trying different recipes that we're used to in our culture, making and turning and like veganizing them, if that's even a word, and making things taste amazing, and changing the hearts and minds of those who have questioned veganism in the past. And for me, when I went vegan, the reason why I went vegan was because I was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. And for me, I knew in order to manage my multiple sclerosis in the way of, a more holistic approach, I knew I had to take measures in my own hands by researching, by reaching out to folks that are on these holistic journeys, different medical missionaries, and coaches and folks that are into nutrition that have a understanding of veganism in the way of a nutritional standpoint. And I say it in that way because, a lot of nutritionists, and this is no shade to anybody, a lot of them just don't have the background in veganism and, how to incorporate veganism in um, a healthy lifestyle. And in a nutritional way, like understanding the proteins and everything that are involved in ensuring that someone who is vegan is getting the proper nutrition. And so it's taken me a long time. I was diagnosed with MS in 2010. I went vegan in 2010, and I have not looked back. And so for me, it's like I said, it's been a blessing because, one, I don't take any medication for my multiple sclerosis. I actually, I take different supplements, different vitamins, and things of that nature. But really, my vegan lifestyle has been one of the main contributors to me maintaining my multiple sclerosis and not needing to be on medication. And this is a total disclaimer for folks who are, diagnosed with like multiple sclerosis or any other disease out there. Please consult your healthcare provider before just jumping ship on things and making sure that, veganism or any type of major lifestyle change when it comes to your dietary practices and even any supplements, medications, make sure your healthcare provider is in the talks with you, you're communicating with them properly, and that you're, ensuring that you're doing the best thing for your health. Uh, and like I said, my focus on looking at Black folks and being vegan, one, like I said, because I'm Black, and two, because, I love seeing more Black folks really taking their health seriously and not just constantly in survival mode. When I think of like my family, like growing up, even though, we had tons of food. There was always food. Like if there was nothing, there was food. Let me tell you. But was it always the most healthy food? Was it the most nutritious food? More times than not, no. Right? It's a lot of fried food, a lot of rich, based type of foods, with a lot of, oil and, things of that nature. Very flavorful. I mean, listen, you can't even deny that the food was very rich and just amazing. And at the same time, it was causing a lot of health issues with folks that I grew up with in my family, friends, and just seeing their health decline in ways that could have been preventable. It's heartbreaking when you think about it now. But it's a thing of like, if you know better, you start doing better, right? And so y'all know me. I've always got my article ready and to go. This week I found an article that was written last year, um, by Essence magazine. And the title is Black Americans Are Going Vegan at a Higher Rate Than Anyone Else. Here's why and how you can do it too. So they spoke with By Any Greens Necessary author and 10 million Black vegan woman founder Tracy McQuarter to get insight and advice about how Black folks have been going vegan, and just different pointers that she's offering in this article. So the article starts out, it says, did you know that Black people have been identifying as vegan at a higher rate than the rest of the population here in the United States? Studies from over the years have proven just that. Pew Research from 2016 found that 8% of Blacks in this country identified as vegan or vegetarian when compared to 3% for all Americans. And a 2019 Gallup poll revealed not only are women twice as likely as men to cut down on meat in their diet, for people of color, meat was being cut out of our diets at a higher rate than whites. We're officially seeing green. It's true, long gone are the days where it was assumed that a vegan diet is bland. People are making chicken out of oyster and shiitake mushrooms, and there are plant based loins on the market that look like a traditional sirloin made of soy and wheat. There are enough pages and YouTube channels out there to help people see what mouthwatering meals can make on their own. And more vegan restaurants are popping up, including big names like Pinky Cole's Slutty Vegan, which keeps a line of happy customers, expanding far past its roots in Atlanta. Many other Black owned plant based haunts around the country are making waves too, not only in expected cities like New York City and LA, but also in other major hubs like Houston, Las Vegas, Detroit, and more. It's becoming easier than ever to join the vegan revolution, and many of us are diving into access a healthier way of living. And let me tell you something. I love, just the excitement around just reading this actual article because, like I said, for me, when I decided to go vegan, I guess it was a choice because of my health. And it was one of those things where I felt like, okay, I've got to make a change. It's now or never. And, I don't care who else is going to join me, but I have to do this. If I'm trying to, live my best life and not allow this actual diagnosis that I have to take over my life, I must then take charge of my life in a way that I feel will be the best option. And so being vegan was the route that I took. And it wasn't easy. I'm not going to lie. It was not easy um, in terms of the social aspect. Like the food aspect, fine. Because honestly, at the time that I went vegan, I was not feeling well at all. I was very sick at the time. And so, you know, the thought of food wasn't just like, oh my gosh, I'm missing out on chicken wings. I'm missing out on, my favorite pizza with mozzarella. I wasn't thinking about any of that. It was just, if I had to eat something, fine, whatever. But, the transition of the food aspect wasn't as drastic for me, but I know for others it can be, because food is something that we all connect with on so many levels, right? And for me, I guess I can say it still was the food, because um when it was all said and done and I actually had to go out and socialize with friends and family, and we would have dinners and gatherings, or we go to a restaurant or whatever that looked like, I was the one, I was the kind of like the odd man out for a long time. And so I had to mourn that whole um mourn my old self, basically. Mourn the fact that the Alicia that used to sit down and eat all the things with with her family can't do that anymore. And I have to adjust to that. And one of my biggest fears was, will I be able to, right? Will I be able to go out and enjoy food and, with my friends and family like I did in the past? That was a major concern for me. And what I found was that, luckily, in 2010, it still was a little shaky in terms of finding vegan options, right? And at the time, I was in Evansville, Indiana, so it was really shaky. But luckily, I grew up Seventh Day Adventist, and for people who know about the Adventist faith, a lot of people are either vegetarian or vegan. So I grew up having a solid understanding about vegan lifestyle as well as, vegetarian. Because that when I was in college, I was vegetarian for a while and then, went back to eating meat. And then I kind of like teetered back and forth with being vegetarian for the longest time. But when I was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis, I was not vegan. I was not vegetarian. I was just out here, like, going to McDonald's, getting my number two with a Diet Coke, thinking that was healthy. That's a whole other story. But, but yeah, so I made that change. I had to mourn my old self and had to welcome in this new Alicia. And this new Alicia had to, make changes that um, I would have never thought to do in my as my old self. And once I started really you know, immersing myself in this whole, vegan way of eating, I started to really enjoy it. It became like really fun for me because I felt like there were so many possibilities and opportunities for me to learn and be creative with my food and find new ways to do like the article was saying, there's so many ways, like you can work with mushrooms now. There's so many options to certain milks, and you still have to be careful with some of these things too. I definitely want to put that disclaimer out there. You have to be careful because not everything that says plant-based or vegan is quote unquote healthy, right? You definitely still want to monitor and be mindful of everything that's out there, right? I always encourage, whole foods, right? Something that's grown, you know, uh, something you can pull out of the garden, right? Or something that's not as processed. You just want to stay away from those things because just because it says it's plant based or vegan, you still could be putting yourself at risk because of the high sodium, high sugar, just and just it being just a processed type of food. You just want to make sure you are actually going more of a holistic route as opposed to what you see in this commercialized vegan type of area, or not much area, but like just within the vegan scope, if that makes sense. Um, so the actual article goes on to say, I went on a tangent. Y'all know how I do. But anyway, so the article goes on and says, so what has drawn us in? Meaning, like, what has drawn Black folks into being vegan? We spoke with an expert, Tracy McWhorter, MPH, who she's a master's in public health, to get some insight and some advice on the best ways to make the leap. McWhorter is a vegan activist and public health nutritionist who wrote the books By Any Greens Necessary and Ageless Vegan. She also is behind the community 10 Million Black Vegan Women, which seeks to address a preventable health crisis among Black women through plant based nutrition and community support. Here's what she had to say about the benefits of plant based living and what's behind the to push back to it for Black men and women especially. So Essence asks her, "What do you think is drawing people to veganism in particular?" And so Miss McWhorter said, Black women are the current face of veganism in this country. According to the 2016 Pew Research Center study, African Americans are the fastest growing vegan and vegetarian demographic in this country at 8% as compared to 3% of Americans overall. And it's estimated that the majority are women. Black women are the leading way. That's the latest research we have, and it's consistent with the research that the Vegetarian Research Group has been doing for decades, which shows that African Americans have been twice as likely to be vegan than whites. I always say first that the main reason for this is that going vegan is the smart thing to do. It's the healthiest for people, animals, and the planet. And the second reason is that this is not new. We have a long history of eating plant-centered foods. From the beginning, African American foodways had their historical roots in the fiber-rich diets of our African ancestors. And this fiber-rich culinary heritage survived 400 years of our sojourn here in the United States through enslavement, Jim Crow, and the Great Migration and the civil rights and Black liberation movements. Through the dietary upheavals of these past 4 centuries, African Americans have maintained an affinity for growing, purchasing, and eating fiber rich foods. In fact, in 1965, dietary surveys show that before the proliferation of fast food franchises in the 70s, African Americans in cities were twice as likely to meet the dietary recommendations of fruits, vegetables, and fiber than overall U.S. population. However, that began to systematically change in the 70s. In the Pulitzer Prize winning book, Franchise The Golden Arcs in Black America by Marsha Chatelain and the Supersizing Urban America by Chen Jew, hopefully I'm saying that correctly. Both authors talk about fast food restaurants targeting African American neighborhoods with the help of federal subsidies following the rebellions after the assassination of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. in 1968. So African American neighborhoods in major cities went from having no fast food chains to being inundated with them. Federally subsidized fast food chains targeted African American communities with cheap, low fiber, low nutrition, high caloric food, and relentless advertising. I just want to just stop there because, excuse me, I need a little water. I wanted to stop there because when you think of these drastic changes that have taken place in the Black community when it comes to nutrition and when it comes to our health and things of that nature, it is in some ways infuriating to me when I think about the health disparities that take place in the Black community here in this country and all over. Uh, because there's so many factors that play into the health crisis that we see in America. Not only do a lot of folks or Black communities have food deserts, so where they're not offered proper nutritional foods, fruits and vegetables and things of that nature. uh but then there's also the stress of being Black in America, right? The lack of education around healthy eating is another issue. And like I said, it's infuriating, and at the same time, it's also a thing where it's like, I love the fact that we have survived so many adversities in this country. And I feel like that survival is now flipping itself into thriving. I've known nothing but survival um, for the most majority of my life. I am now stepping into my thriving. And I love it. I love that I'm thriving in this life. I love that I'm living well, that I'm living in joy, that I'm living not just in joy, but also enjoying the fact that I eat well and that eating well is um, a good thing. And it's actually being celebrated more and more. Because I recall when I did go vegan in 2010, a lot of people were like almost like feeling bad for me, like, "Oh, sorry, I'm eating meat in front of you. Sorry," And it's just like, no, it's not. It's fine. Like that's your choice. This is my choice. Like it's cool. Like we're cool. Like don't stress. Seriously. Um, but I love that now this narrative is changing and that we are taking the initiative to really educate ourselves uh, as it relates to eating well, um, and not falling for the advertising, right? And all the different things that could allow us to fall back into the throes of, eating this, like I said, low fiber, low nutrition, high caloric food that has caused so many health disparities in the Black community. And another thing I'll say about that, one thing I this always like comes to mind when I think of a lot of health disparities within the Black community. When I was in nursing school, I remember we were talking about, the high rates of, heart disease and diabetes and, you name it, within the Black community. And, it was kind of like well, that's just how Black people are. It was kind of like this dismissive, like, well, that's just how they are, like, whatever. And when you realize that it's not just how we are, it is the lack of um, ability, not ability, but availability, I'm trying to say, to nutritious foods and to understanding how to make these nutritious foods flavorful and palatable for Black folks. So, listen, we love a good seasoning, we love making stuff taste amazing. And I love that we are learning how to do that in a healthy way. And still being able to just enjoy life. And I feel like you're missing out on cultural foods that we grew up with, that at one point were they did cause a lot of health disparities. So it's beautiful to see the shift, to see the thriving in all this. I'm loving it. Like I'm truly loving it. The article goes on and it talks of, they're asking her so many questions, um but one of the things I really loved, it was they asked her this. They said, outside of health, I've heard people talk about food insecurity being a reason as well. Would you agree? And so she's talking about the whole idea of, food insecurity being an issue within the Black community. And I'll just read what she says. So, like I said, the question was, outside of health, right? Outside of the health piece, I've heard people talk about food insecurity being a reason as well. Would you agree? And goes on to say, I agree that food apartheid is a reason that folks are drawn to plant-based foods because it is usually cheaper to buy whole plant based foods like fruits, vegetables, beans, nuts, whole grains, herbs, and spices to create healthy and delicious meals than it is to buy meat, dairy, and processed packaged foods. We're all dealing with higher food prices now, no matter how we eat. But as a general rule, it's more economical to eat whole plant based foods. This is especially true if you can buy them from the bulk bins at your local store or farmer's market, or you can grow your own. I'll also add that climate change and environmental justice are also a reason that we're drawn to eating plant-based foods. The factory farming of more than 9 billion chickens, cows, and pigs each year to produce meat and dairy products causes more global warming than all of the world's transportation combined. The methane gas from the manure of factory farm animals accounts for more greenhouse gas emissions than all the cars, buses, trains, boats, and planes on the planet. Animal agriculture is also the leading cause of water pollution and soil degradation in the world. Wow. And if the corn, soy, and other grains fed to the factory farm animals in the US were instead consumed directly by people, nearly 9 billion people around the world could be fed, helping to reduce global hunger. A vegan diet is not only the healthiest way for us to eat, but it's also one of the single best things we can do to help save the planet and its inhabitants. In fact, the United Nations states that eating plant based foods has the most immediate and great impact on the climate. I love that. I love that in so many ways because it goes beyond just, oh, we're doing this because we're healthy. We're doing this because, it's cost effective, right? It's helping the planet. And it could lead to less food insecurity in this country if we play our cards right. I think that is I mean, how can you lose when it comes to that, right? How can you lose? I feel like, especially now more than ever, like the article says, she was saying, the food prices now are out of control. They're out of control. But if you can go get you a good bag of beans, or you go get the bulk beans, bulk rice, different things from like a farmer's market, from a food co-op, at different, places like that, you would be shocked how much money you would save. And a lot of people don't realize certain co-ops and farmers markets take EBT. And I'm not saying everyone's on, food stamps or anything, but that could be, a barrier people may think is stopping them from eating healthy and having these options. Check your local farmers market. Check, different food co-ops and see what they can offer. Especially with folks who may feel like, oh, they wouldn't accept EBT. Look, go ask. Go ask. My mama always said, "You have not because you ask not." Always ask, always find out. It's either a yes or no, and then just keep it pushing. But I would definitely encourage those who are, um, in those positions that are worried about that, definitely ask and see. And even still, like I said, a lot of these co-ops and farmers markets, for the most part, I'm saying all of them, but a lot of them do have cheaper produce, and cheaper food options that are typically not processed and are healthier for you. So definitely check those different places out. I love this article so much. Um, and I really feel like at this time in our lives, it is so important for us as Black people to really start taking our health seriously and get out of this idea of survival mode when it comes to just trying to make it, just getting by. I'm just doing the best I can, just keep, keeping my head down and keep no, lift your head up and thrive, and know that you are worth that, right? You're worth eating well. You're worth, taking care of the planet. You're worth saving money if need be on food. Like, uh, you know, there's no reason why we're paying as much money as we are with food, but we are. So it's like finding different ways to actually make it work and still eat well. That's the beauty of it. It's like, it's not like you're cutting corners and you're not able to eat nutritious things. You're able to do that in a way that you might have never thought of, right? And let me tell you something. I went vegan. Like I said, I went vegan in 2010, and at that time, I was collecting food stamps. I was on welfare, the whole nine, right? Because I was in nursing school, single mom, had a part-time job that was not making ends meet. I was doing the best I could, and I still was vegan. And I ate well. I found ways to eat well, and it's possible. I'm telling y'all, it is possible. Um, and so I just wanted to go on to actually, uh, it was another part of this article that I wanted to share with y'all here. Let me see here. So she also talks about the idea of folks who decide to go vegan and like how to push forward in that time. So Essence asks her, if someone is interested in taking the steps to a more plant-based diet, where would you recommend they start? Over the years, I've noticed a few common things that can trip people up as they transition to veganism. So here they are, along with how to avoid them. The first thing she says, feeling pain instead of joy. And this is what I was talking about to y'all at the start of this conversation. When people think about going vegan, they often focus on how hard they think it will be. They focus on the foods they'll be giving up instead of all the new foods that they'll be adding on. They worry about being different than their family and friends instead of the beauty of their own personal transformation. In other words, they fixate on deprivation instead of abundance. To avoid this mistake, shift your mindset. My mantra, what she says, her mantra is liberate your mind and your mouth will follow. I love that. Oh my gosh, I love that. So, if you going vegan as an exciting new journey that you'll enjoy, embrace the adventure of this new path and you're taking and keep an open mind and heart. Number two, comparing instead of inspiring. Do you know how long it's going to take to go vegan? The answer is however long it takes you. I tell people all the time it's not a race or competition. Your vegan journey is your own. It's great to read the vegan transition stories of other people for inspiration, but there's a big difference between inspiration and comparison or competition. Inspiration can make you feel excited and motivated that you can do it too. Comparison or competition can make you feel deflated and doubtful that you can do it. It's not necessary to feel bad to grow. So be kind and gracious with yourself and seek encouragement and support from your folks who will lift you up. Number three, giving up when you slip up. This one is key. When you're transitioning to vegan foods, it can be common to take one step forward and two steps backwards. So you might be doing great one day by eating all vegan food, then the next day or two, you might slip up by eating meat and dairy. Understand that this is usually part of the transition process. So don't beat yourself up and don't give up. Just start the next day. And at the same time, continue to read vegan books and blogs, watch vegan cooking videos and documentaries to get support from others. So that even on the days when you slip up, you know that all things you're going to do are still working together in the background to help you mentally and physically transition. Keep your eyes on the prize and know that you are in the process of going vegan and you will do it. In terms of foods, I encourage folks to start by veganizing the familiar foods they already love to eat. So it's a stir fry dish, use chickpeas, black beans, cashews, or tofu instead of meat. And keep the colorful veggies and dried herbs and spices because they're already vegan. You can do the same for soups, stews, chili, wraps, pasta, salads, and more. And as this season of cleaning and refreshing, so that was that part, right? And let me just stop there because I'm getting ahead of myself. I love that. I love that section because it really brings encouragement to those who are thinking about going vegan and not beating yourself up in the process of it all. It's easy to be like, oh, it's almost like with like these diets that we get on. You're like, oh, well, I ate some cookies. Well, I have to give up because I can't keep the diet together. It's like, no, just try again the next day and just constantly just be in that mindset of I am going to, be vegan. I'm going to make these changes. And like you said, find the encouragement, the blogs, the different YouTube videos, whatever it takes, right? Whatever it takes to actually make that transition. Keep pushing forward and don't be discouraged and find the right people to encourage and uplift you in this process because like I said, I started in 2010 and my reasoning I was almost I felt like it was life or death, honestly. That's just how I felt about it. So that was kind of my driving force and my why, right? Uh but for others who just want to just change just cuz they want to, do it for health purposes to be like a preventative measure, it may be a little different like in terms of that transition. So everybody is different. No, everyone's journey is different and that's okay. That is okay. And I love that. Um yeah, I love this article. I'm going to share this article with you guys in the show notes. There was one last question that she answered, and I'll share it with you guys. So it says, as this is a season of cleaning and cleansing and refreshing, would you say that this is also a good time to start transforming yourself from inside out, starting with what you consume? And so this was written in the spring of last year. So she says, spring is the perfect season to go vegan because what we eat is the biggest factor in how healthy we'll be from inside out. So, just by eating whole plant based foods, you can naturally begin to clean out and build up your body to be healthy and strong. And like I said, I love this. I love this article. It's so refreshing, and it just brings so much hope at a time where you feel like, like if you want to make a nice transition or know that hey, what I'm doing is good, and I'm glad to see my people also transitioning into this actual lifestyle as well is beautiful. Another cool thing about this article is if you're an audio person, they have an audio option here where you can just listen to the article. So take it, take that as well. If you're just maybe at home or you're doing something, you just want to listen to it or work or whatever, you have that option. I love that. Like I said, I'm going to share this in the show notes. I always let folks know too, my vegan journey has, like I say, it's been life changing. It has been a beautiful experience. It has opened up so many doors for me in terms of just my health, meeting people, learning how to cook different things that I would have never thought about cooking, meeting so many amazing people on this journey. So it has been really great. And I just say if you're thinking about doing it and you have questions, hit me up. Hit me up. You can ask me questions. I'm a very approachable person. If you haven't figured that out already, you can email me at aliciarchristian@gmail.com. I'm on all social platforms for the most part, except like Twitter. I can't fool with that mess. So, but yeah, like Instagram, TikTok. I'm the Alicia Christian on Instagram. I'm Alicia Christian on Facebook. I am Leash on TikTok. So you can hit me up. If you have questions, I am more than happy to answer any questions that you guys have and guide you to different things that have helped me in the past and even in my current uh, journey as being a vegan. Yeah, I love that. Uh, let's just keep helping each other. Let's keep inspiring each other, and let's continue on the road to health, wealth, and prosperity. That's where I'm at with this at this point. All right, I love y'all, and thank you. Thank you so much for listening to this week's episode of the Eat and Meat podcast. I will see y'all next week. All right, bye.